Welcome back. We get, I guess, hundreds of letters a year, would be no exaggeration, from people who have been orphaned or have been trying to find their mum or their dad or their sister or their brother. A regular case, and they run into bureaucratic roadblocks. This is a quite extraordinary story. Until a week ago, John Smith had gone through life as an orphan. Now, he's discovered recently that he could have 24 brothers and sisters. That's just in the last few days. John has made phone contact with two brothers, and with each call he discovers that there could be more. It just keeps snowballing. Now, to tell part of his incredible story, as much as we can unravel it, would you please welcome John Smith? Welcome, John. As I mentioned, we do get lots and lots and lots of letters from people in a similar situation, perhaps not with 24 brothers and sisters. Can I just ask you, even, is John Smith your real name?
Yeah, it is. I had a lot of trouble when I was younger, but anyway, it is my name now.
Given the circumstances, I mean, it sounds like a name that someone would give you. Well, did you have any idea that you had a family, let alone a large family?
My mother, told me that I possibly had one brother and one sister, and it sort of come as a huge shock when I was finally able to get information that I had so many. I mean, I'm getting on a bit, and to find out that there's so many of us.
How old are you?
It was a bit of a shock. I'm 28.
28. He's getting on a bit at 28. Yeah. So, but what prompted you, apart from normal curiosity to know who your brothers and sisters were? Why did you go on the search?
Well, my eldest daughter suffers from epilepsy, and my wife's looking back in her medical history and of her family, and that there's no sign of epilepsy there, and I started thinking that it could be on my side, and maybe it'd be beneficial if I find out, there could be other things. There could be heart diseases, or, as I found out since, there is sugar diabetes run through her family, and an iron problem, so it has been beneficial to find out. And it wasn't so much curiosity of finding me parents or actually meeting my brother and sister. I'd love to, but I mean, it was more the fact that, I've got a family now, and there was health reasons there.
Yes. Now, so how did you start out?
Well, at first I sent letters away to various organisations. There's Adoption Triangle, and I went to the court to get my original birth certificate, but I wasn't able to get that, and then I was informed that if I got a medical certificate from the doctor about my eldest daughter's illness, that maybe then I could get it. And from there, I rang the Royal Hospital. I spoke to a Lynn Pearl, and she was very helpful. She was the one that informed me of the brother. She originally told me I had 11 and gave me names.
But how did she put it to you? She told you to sit down, didn't she?
Yeah, she said to me, she said, you better sit down just for a minute. We've got a bit of news. And I said, oh yeah. And I was expecting you to say that we've found your brother and sister, and I was excited and that. And then she said there's not one brother and one sister, but 11 of you. And I nearly collapsed and thought, no, and that sort of. Then I was really, I wanted to find my brothers and sisters.
Now, have you met any of them?
No, I haven't. No.
You've spoken to them on the phone?
I've spoken to two brothers on the phone, and I've since found out that there's more than 11 of us, and it can go as high as 24. We've sort of come to 20, but there's still, there could be more. But,
all right, then we had to. I mean, the two chairs there are not there for a reason, for nothing. We'd like you to meet one brother. We'd like you to meet Wayne Moffat. Wayne, would you like to come in? Here we go. Hello, Wayne. Hello, mate. Please have a seat. Now, it is an extraordinary. The theatre involved. You've spoken over a week or so, haven't you?
No, just on Saturday night.
Saturday night.
The first time we ever spoke.
Now, we think, as far as John can work out, that you're the oldest of the family, the eldest of the family.
Yeah, I'm the oldest, yeah.
And are you 35?
I'm 35, yeah.
What do you remember of when John disappeared?
Only that he was just a baby in the crib at the time, that's all. Not so much as him of playing with us as I do with the other brothers and sisters.
How old were you, Wayne?
At the time I was about 6 years of age.
Now, what? There were 6 or 7 of you at that stage?
6 of us.
Right, and Mum disappeared?
Yeah.
And Dad was left with them, and the welfare agencies decided that Dad couldn't look after you?
Yeah, and our grandmother tried to look after us as well with our father, but her being as old as she was, they thought it wasn't a good idea, so they thought it was best if the all of us were taken
Right,
and
so
fostered out.
we're talking 28 years ago or so. Now, so the other 5 were taken and fostered out in various places. What happened to you?
Because I was the oldest and could look after myself and fend for myself, I was put with my father's first children. He was married previous and he had 11 children
Right,
to his first wife, and she died.
right.
And the oldest half-sister more or less looked after me.
But was there a story as well that she'd basically hidden you from the authorities?
Yeah, every time the welfare came, she would sort of hide me back to my grandmother or to other relatives, cousins, and they just could never find me.
Yes, even at 6.
They knew of me, yeah, they knew of me, and they tried to track me down for years, but they just kept on hiding me around. I moved around all over Sydney, really.
Well, you, as the eldest, you certainly knew that you had 5 brothers and sisters somewhere in Australia,
Yeah.
but there'd be no attempt. Did you know how to get in touch?
Yeah, in the early 20s and that, I tried to, I rang the welfare agencies, and they more or less said that there was a law against them being told unless their adopted parents had died.
Right.
Then they could tell. But other than that, there was no help whatsoever.
All right.
And
Well,
for years that went on, I just more or less said, well, I gave up hope.
yes.
Gave up all hope.
No, that's what people say to us all the time, those who write, saying, look, I've tried for 5 or 6 years, there's nothing I can do, I just keep running into roadblocks.
Yeah, that's it, exactly how it was. Nobody wanted to help at all.
All right. Let's bring Thomas out. Your other brother, you've spoken to him, you haven't met him either. Another one. Let's bring Thomas Moffat out, eh? Thomas is... g'day, mate.
How are you, mate?
You're 30,
Yeah,
so you're the next one up from John.
yeah.
So what did you heard of the episode and when you were split up? Only what you've heard from...
Only what Wayne's told me since I met Wayne 2 years ago, and I was more or less in the same boat as John.
So you only met him 2 years ago?
Wayne, yeah, I
Yes.
only met Wayne about 2 years ago, yeah, because I more or less went through the same process as John. I was adopted when I was only 5, and I'd never been told anything about me natural parents or relatives, and when I was 25 years old, my adopted parents decided to tell me that I had a brother, and then the same effect as snowball come, that there was all these brothers and sisters running around everywhere.
Now, fellas, it would be great television if I could bring 24 people out here, wouldn't it? So make Alice meet the rest. But you know where your mum is,
Yes,
do you?
Yeah.
I do, yeah. I've spoken to her a couple of occasions.
And will she tell you how many there are?
Yeah, she knows how many there are, but I believe now John has a letter or something saying that there's possibly another girl who I think may be a half-sister.
Can we just try and unravel a little bit? There were 6 of you,
There were 6 of us, yeah.
born to your mother and father.
Yeah.
Your mother then remarried or went on and had several more children, is that right?
No, it's before.
No, that
She had them
that
before?
Had them before
How,
us.
how it worked was my mother, at the age of 16 or 17, she had 3 children,
Right.
and she left her first husband. Then by then my father, he had 11 children to his wife, but his wife died.
Right.
So then my mother and father met up and had us 6.
Right.
So there's six of us,
Right.
11 of my father's first marriage,
Right.
and
Three.
3 of my mother's first marriage.
And now, John, you suspect there may be another girl somewhere there.
Yeah, I've got information on another girl. She was born in '62, but they won't give me a name, and that's basically the problem. I mean, you go to these organisations, and when I first heard the news that I had brothers and sisters, I don't think I've ever been more happy. And then, when I sat back and thought about it, it's taken 28 years for them to tell me that I've got family.
Yes.
And then they're still not prepared to give me the information to find them when they've got it. There's organisations out there that've got names, addresses on all these people, but they're just not prepared to give it. They're making how decisions. I can understand them, say not giving me the information on my mother and father.
Your sisters and brothers, and that's your sister Donna.
So the sister Donna, right? And she lives in Maitland.
Maitland, that's right, yeah.
Dorothy.
That's Dorothy. That's your brother Michael.
He's from Tasmania. Do you know what his surname is?
Michael Moffat, he was always
Right.
Moffat. Yeah.
Right.
That's your brother James, lives in Bamboka.
Which is in the Snowy.
Yeah, down that area, Cooma area.
And Moffat again.
Moffat, yeah.
Right.
They were never adopted, they were fostered out. They virtually spent all their life in the home until they became of age, certain age. Then they were fostered out to families, and they more or less left home when they turned age and went out on their own.
Now, even when you were separated at almost birth, as I understand it, the 6 children were all living roughly in the same area, but you didn't know.
Didn't know.
You could have met each other on a football field or on a bus.
Probably punched one another up.
Yeah, I was lucky there. Being the youngest, I saved
would've
from a few
missed out,
hidings.
But you certainly could have met
Well, yeah,
Wayne,
because
couldn't you?
I lived in Glebe. He was living in Newtown, and
Michael-
Actually, don't you owe me a quid? Or?
You borrowed some money off him, did you?
The funny part, the 4 of us were living in the general area. Michael, James, Tom and myself lived in very close. The 3 boys lived in Glebe and I lived at Newtown.
Well, I suspect it probably affected you most, Wayne, because at least you were old enough to know that you had brothers and sisters.
Yeah, it did. I grew up bitter. I'm still bitter. I've never been happy with my life. It's affected not only me, it's affected my own wife, my own kids. I hate society. You know, I sometimes sit back. Mentally, it's disturbed me a lot. You know, there was even one part there where I grew up thinking, why didn't I do something? Even at that age,
Yes.
mentally took over, and I tried to get rid of Wayne. I took anybody that knows me around that Newtown area knows me as James. I took over James's identity, and even today, my wife still calls me James or Jimmy.
You felt guilty about, as a 6-year-old, not doing something?
Yeah.
Fat
I
lot
just
you could have done
grew
as a
up with-
6-year-old.
well, that's- yeah, but mentally and
Yes.
psychologically it just took over, and you know, it's just now that when I met James, I more or less gave him back his name, you know, and I'm just starting to come back now.
And you've all got, I take it, you've all got families, and given your age, you've all got fairly young families, so you've really got there's a huge family there.
16 grandchildren.
16 grandchildren
Yeah.
that your mother had.
That mother would have, yeah.
Yes. Would you like to meet your mother? Is that important?
Oh, no, not really. I was more concerned at meeting my brothers and sisters, and you know, like I had a great mother and a great father. I was lucky in that way. Apparently, a couple of the others never. But you know, I had a great family. I had a good sister. I got a brother I noticed out there in the audience, and you know, I just like to say that.
That's Jim, isn't
Yeah,
it?
I'm not up here, Jim, to close any doors. Like, I love you, and you know, you've been more than a brother. You've been a father, and you know, you've been a good mate. And I'm not here to close any doors. I'm here just to open a few. And you know, and I love you, Jim.
I'm sure you would understand that, Jim, as we all would understand that very much indeed. What's the next step? I mean, hopefully, watching this, there are relatives, husbands or wives of other relatives, I mean, of your father's first children and so on, that you would like to get in touch with?
Well, I've always been in touch with them.
Right.
Because, as I said, I live with my older sister, half-sister, and I grew up with all of them, so I virtually know them.
But the other boys don't, the others.
Tom has met a couple of
I've
them,
met 2.
Yeah.
2 or 3 of them, but as yet, John's just come along now, and
He's a new boy.
only a
He's the new boy. He's come to collect the debts.
The baby, you know, the baby's come home.
But Tom, what do you? I mean, has it affected your life then the same way as it's affected
Yeah,
Wayne? The
it
fact
has,
that you know, governments and bureaucracies won't help you.
Yeah, it stinks because you go through your life really just not belonging to anything or anyone, and no matter how much they try to help you, as much as the department did help me to find Wayne and Mick and all the others, there comes a time when, because of this policy they've got about being adopted, they won't tell you anything. They just put a big wall up in front of you and say, well, we're sorry, but that's as far as we can go. And it seems senseless to be able to say, well, we'll reunite 4 of yous, but the other 2, well, bad luck. You know, I think that it's just not, I don't know, how would you say, it's just not humanly possible that they could do it.
Do something like
And this doesn't just affect, like, you know, there's 3 of us here now, but we're talking about thousands
Sure.
of other kids.
of people who are going through the same thing.
And I guess the most frustrating thing, as you said, John, is that you go to agencies and they know the information,
Yeah,
but they simply can't give it to you.
That's probably the most frustrating thing, is the fact that you're going and talking to these people, and they've got the information in front of them, but they're legally tied. And what sort of I have a problem with, if I was in there, even if I was in their position, I just couldn't withhold that information. If I had it in front of me, even though I might be legally tied, I'd be, I'd say, look, here it is, but don't, whatever you do, don't say you got it from me. But anyway.
The worst thing, we probably all would do that, except it's going to rebound on somebody,
Yeah, mate.
isn't it, wrongly?
The worst part is that when I used to talk to them, they used to say, well, you don't know John. He was a baby. You never grew up with him. You don't know him.
So you
that's a
right.
fact.
I didn't
Yeah.
have a right, but they didn't.
Yeah.
But it was here that I knew him. It was. I
Right.
knew I had a brother, and I loved the brother.
Yeah, they think that there's no bond because we never actually met. They think there can't possibly be a bond. And as strange as it may seem, that there definitely is a bond. I mean, I only spoke to Wayne and Thomas on the phone, and I could feel there was something there. And yet we've never met, and yet I could feel, like when I got off the phone, I don't think I've ever been so upset, and that was with happiness. And then when I thought about it later, that soon went to bitterness at the fact that we could have met a long time ago.
Yeah, all right. Well, the good news is you've done it now.
Yeah, that's for
And
sure.
we didn't mean to make theory out of this, but it illustrates, as to say, all those letters that we get from people who are exactly in the situation you've been in and have been just as frustrated and just as distraught.
What we'd like to do now is try and find this new sister that we may have.
Okay. All right. So you think she was born in '62?
She was born in '62 at Crown Street, but we've got I've got no name on her.
All right.
And,
Okay. Well, certainly there's a good chance that she is watching, or someone else who knows is watching, and would certainly like to put them in touch. Good to see you back together again. Would you please thank John Smith, Wayne Moffat, and Tom Moffat, and Jim. Thank you. Good yarn, isn't it? Lots of talk at the moment about family reunions, and this is the most important kind of all. After the break, art or what? We've got Edmund Capon's expert opinions on the 30 million Biennale art exhibition next. Welcome back. This is a great story. Last week on the show, we introduced John Smith to two of his brothers, two brothers he knew that he had. At the time, John suspected there could be even more missing members of his family. Well, there are. So to talk about that, would you please welcome John Smith, Wayne Moffat, his brother, and Tom Moffat, his other brother, and later a couple more surprises. Please welcome our guests. Welcome, fellas. Good to see you again, John. It's been quite a week for you, I understand.
Yeah, it certainly has. I've got to meet your family and that, and there's still a lot more to be found.
Well, how many
But,
family members do you know that you have at the moment?
we've got 23.
23.
Yeah, that's the, and still this last girl.
All right. So we mentioned there was a younger sister that you thought, all three of you thought that you had, but and we had dozens and dozens of phone calls. So I guess with a name like Smith, that's one of the problems, isn't it?
Yeah,
that from girls who thought that they could be. But you don't. Is it possible? I mean, your mother would be able to tell you if you could talk to her?
Yeah, I'd say she'd be able to shed light on it, and probably shed light on a lot of other things. But
Yes. And so far, Wayne, I mean, I take it that she's not been prepared to talk and give any more details.
I spoke to her 2 nights back, and she's prepared. She's more or less acknowledged us, and she's prepared to speak to the other kids. But whether she'll go any further than that and say that there is more children, I don't know. I just don't know. I've rang the Youth and Community Department, and they have said that there possibly is one more, but they're not too sure. They're just going to do some more checking for me, and they'll let me know in about a month's time.
But will they let you know where she is or who she is?
No, they'll just say that there is one more, and that's it.
It is quite
That's where the
extraordinary.
brick wall comes in. They'll just stop there.
We had, more than 100 letters, in fact, after you guys appeared, from people in similar situations. There was one here that I just wanted to quickly read, which we got from Ballina. I won't give the lady's name, but from Ballina. And she said, it certainly brought tears to my eyes, as I have, excuse me, a similar story. I was the only child adopted out of a family of 4 children. I know that I have a sister and 2 brothers. Me being the youngest and only one adopted, I have been searching for a couple of years and a lot of doors have been closed in my face. As babies, we have no say and we are just given up. Now that we're adults, they say that we have no right. I hope that I don't sound bitter. I'm not, just very hurt to think that I may not even know who my natural parents were, and worst of all, having two brothers and a sister whom I'll never see.
Yeah. Well, I think they should be bitter because the system's denying them a family. It's blood. It's their family. They should have a right to see them. And just since last Tuesday, when we were on this show, I've had something like 20 odd phone calls from people in the same situation, looking for somebody and hoping that maybe we are related. They just don't know.
What, girls thinking that they may be your sister?
Yeah, that may be our sister.
Desperately seeking to find their family. And it just doesn't affect us as brothers and sisters. Like, we've got children, and some of the things that we've been able to find out just since we've met and that, some of the things are incredible, like the likeness of my daughter and Tom's daughter, and just things that have happened over the years. Like
you mean the physical likeness of the two
They're
girls?
like twins, Ray, just about. There's a photo of them now on the screen, and when you look at them, it looks like twins. I'm starting to wonder where he might have been around about the time.
And just other things that have happened. Like my original father, he died 12 years ago, and my adoptee father died 2 years ago,
Right.
and he's buried in the same row at the same cemetery.
The same row,
Yeah,
the same
in the
cemetery.
same cemetery. I mean, that's just, that's uncanny. It's frightening.
Any other similarities, Tom, that you've seen?
Yeah, well, my daughter's got epilepsy, and John's daughter's got epilepsy, and
Which is one of the main reasons John was trying to
yeah.
find, yeah.
that's right.
And there was a hearing problem that...
Yeah, we both got hearing problems in the left ear, and we were talking the other night and found out that we both found out the same way. We'd both gone to apply to join the army, and we failed the test because of our hearing problem, and just uncanny the way that these similarities keep jumping up.
Have you been able to... Has there been anything else in terms of the fact that you all lived in the and grew up in the same neighbourhood? Over the last week, have you been talking about, were you there and so on?
I'll tell you what did happen was when I went back to Tom's place after the show, he took me around to a mate's place that he works for, and to tell him that he was obviously going to have the next day off, and we were going to go out and that. And we come to the door, and he opened it up, and he was about to introduce me. We knew each other. We went to school together.
You knew his mate anyway?
Yeah.
Wayne, what about the anger? You voiced the anger the other day, and I spoke with your wife afterwards, and she said she was very pleased to hear that you'd voiced it and that you'd got it out. Do you still have that anger?
Yeah, I think I'll always have it. It's just, as it's growing up from that young age, it just hit a lot harder, hit home a lot harder, and to know that there's possibly another one out there, and I'm not going to get no help from the department whatsoever. It's just making it worse, a lot worse.
Yes.
I'm glad that I've found the brothers and sisters now, and I've just recently met my half sister and brother from my mother's first marriage, and that's good too. But there's still one more to go, and I just can't rest within until that one more is found.
Yes. Well, John, we've got two more. There are three more of your immediate family whom you haven't met.
Yeah.
Right. There's Michael, who's down the Snowy.
Tasmania.
Oh, in Tassie.
Tassie.
He's from Tassie.
Yeah.
And there's Donna, who comes from Maitland in New South Wales. And there's James, who's down the Snowy, isn't it?
That's right, yeah.
And now I understand James's wife is expecting a baby any moment,
Yeah.
so we couldn't bring him up. But we brought Donna down from Maitland, so we'd like to bring Donna out. You can meet Donna for the first time. Donna, would you like to come out? And you guys know Donna?
Yeah.
Okay. Can we get an order here there, Donna? I mean, without giving a lady's age away, where do you fit in the... Which number are you in the family?
I'm the baby.
You're the baby?
Yes, the family, yes.
Now, what did you know? What have you known all your life about the family?
Well, I don't know nothing much, but when I was taken, it was before I was one, and then my foster mother and father got me at 18 months.
Right.
Yes.
And so did they tell you that you were, in fact, an adopted child?
Not until I was
Or foster?
about maybe the time we were in about 6 or 7, when I was around about 6 or 7.
Right. And when did you meet Wayne and Tom? When did you touch base
I
then?
met them through Michael. Michael started looking for us all.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, Michael was basically the one that started the
Yes.
whole thing rolling. It would have been about 10 years ago now that Michael first made contact with James, and they more or less lived together. They were in their teens, and then because Donna was so young, they wouldn't give any information. But once she turned 16, they were permitted to make contact with her, and then there would have been a break about 8, 9 years, and then I came along and got in contact with Michael, and I met Donna and James. Then along came Wayne 2 years later, and then
It is an
2
extraordinary
years
saga.
Yes,
after,
it
2
is,
years
yeah.
after that along came John. And that's the worst part about it, I think, Ray, is that, you know, we were all living under the same roof 28 years ago, and it's taken 28 years to get us back here so that we're all under the same roof again. And if something isn't done about the policy and they get this law change, you know, a lot of other people are going to be going through the same pain and the same hurt, because, you know, it's just heartbreaking to think that this could have happened 10 years ago, maybe more. And as I said on the show last time, you know, it doesn't just affect us. We're not here just glorifying our story. We're here to represent all the people who are out there who have been adopted, who are going through the same thing.
Yes, all right. Well, and as I say, we've had more than 100 letters of just almost exactly the same story that you're telling us. All right, let's bring the culprit out. Let's meet Michael. Michael's from Burnie in Tasmania. Come on out and meet us, Michael. Have a seat down the end. We'd like to bring some more. Thanks for coming up from Burnie.
That's right.
We understood that we almost lost you at the airport today.
Yeah, it's in the airport, yeah.
Good job we did. We couldn't find you again. Now tell us why you launched the search. How many years ago? 10 years ago.
No, when I was 18,
Right.
I tried to find the oldest Wayne,
What number are you, sorry?
number 3.
Number 3, all right.
Yeah. And I tried to find the oldest and work my way down, but I just had no luck anywhere.
Can I ask you why you tried to find the family?
Because I was a nobody for 18 years, and because nobody told me that I had brothers and sisters, I tried to find them myself to see if actually I did have brothers and sisters. So that's what made me go out and look. But a welfare officer happened to slip me a couple of names and birth dates, and that was all. He just told me to go and look for myself now.
So he did the very thing that John spoke to us last week about and said, you know, he did the decent thing, even though it wasn't strictly legal.
Yeah.
And he gave you a couple of names that he shouldn't have given
that's
you.
right. He just said, put it under the table and said, you know, don't say nothing.
But without that, you'd have been shot to pieces. You wouldn't have been able to go anywhere.
Nah, I just wouldn't have no idea where to look and who to look for.
Tell us, in your words, why it was so important.
Well, at this stage now is because, you know, I've got children, and my wife's side of the family, that's all we had. And the children used to say, "Oh, Dad, haven't you got any side of your family, you know, father, mother, brother or sisters?" And that's why it made me go and look so I could help them to understand that they did have another side of the family instead of our wives.
How many children do you have collectively? How many in this extended family? Have you added it up yet?
Yeah, we were 16. Dad would have 16 grandchildren.
No, that's just within
just
us.
with us.
Right.
There'd be
And
51 altogether.
50.
Oh, sorry, 51 and a bit, because James's wife is due to go
Yeah, I
any day.
believe John's
And John reckons he's working on another one.
John's working on another one, is he? So there's 53, yeah. Well, now that's a heck of a family, isn't it, in terms of
Yes.
the venture you started on, Michael? That's a heck of a family that was really lost out there.
Yeah, it's just all your families out there, and now we've found them. You know, it's all right because we've got 5 and a half, we've got another one on the way. That gives us 6 children.
Yes.
And the kids think it's great that they've got uncles and aunties and cousins out there to meet. Well, they haven't met them yet, which, you know, is a shame. But, you know, there's time, and then they'll get to meet them all.
What do you remember of the separation? Anything at all?
No, only on what Wayne used to tell me, you know, a couple of years ago when I first met Wayne by phone.
Yes.
He told us that, well, it was one Christmas that we were all hanging around the tree, and our dad bought us a gun each, and I didn't like the gun that I had, and I had a fight with Wayne to take it off him because I wanted his gun. I didn't like the one I had. That's about the only thing I can remember from there, because I was put in a home, and they just moved me from home to home.
Yeah.
Like I wasn't actually brought up in a foster parents' home. I was brought in welfare homes until I was 15,
Yeah.
then told at 15 you go out and work until you're 18, and after that the welfare have nothing to do with you.
Then you're on your own.
Yeah, after 18, that's it. The welfare can't do nothing.
What would you like to say to Michael? What's the? How come he got the height and you missed out?
Yeah, I don't know what's going on there. I mean, I suppose we're lucky. You can imagine us all turning up at the same place for Christmas dinner.
Yeah.
We need to be sponsored by a chicken firm, wouldn't we?
We'll all have to take our bank loans, right, so we can buy all the nieces and nephews Christmas presents now this year for Christmas. I don't know how we're going to
That's the negative side. Now you got 50 you got to look after, isn't it?
Yes, that's right.
I think that something that was told to me last week when I met another one of our brothers was something our father told him before he died, that just before he died he sat up and told our other brother that one day that, you know, we'd be together again and not to worry, and thanks to yourself, Ray, and the staff of Channel 9, you've made that come true, and I don't know how we could repay you for that, but
I know you don't. No.
if our father is watching here today, well, we're home, Dad.
Yeah. Well, nicely put. Can't beat that. Thank you for coming up, Michael. Thank you all. Great to get you together. We'd love to find that missing sister, Wayne. Again, I mean, there's no other clues. If you get the information from the department, if there was some bloke at the department who might do for you what he did for Michael years back, then we could solve it. But please let us know if you do find the other sister. Obviously, the cause is more than worth it.
I'd just like to make a plea, if I could, Ray, to the Minister to, you know, sit back and have a look at what you've seen here today, and anybody out there who's got any doubts that by bringing families back together after all these years is wrong, well, I think we've proved them all wrong now, so I think, you know, the Minister should have a look at the situation and consider the possibilities of changing the law so that there can be more families up here reunited.
Yeah,
because,
well done.
you know, it's a...
Can I just like to say thank you to the Ray Martin Show and to Bass Building Society in Burnie for getting me here today. It's okay.
Well, our pleasure. It's good to see you back together. It's a great story. John, thank you for searching it out, and I guess down the other end, Michael, for starting it. Wayne, we thank you. Tom and Donna.
Thank you.
Michael, thank you all very much. Would you please thank our guests for it? Good story. And as the boy said to us earlier, it really is a case of they're not just representing themselves, they're obviously representing thousands of families around Australia who are similarly out there drifting, just lost, as Michael referred to. Good story. After the break, the donkey serenader himself, Alan Jones, performs Just For You.